I hope that you have great plans for a good weekend. I'm Misha. I just want to talk today about fatigue and insulin resistance. But look, first of all, you need to understand who I am and why I'm here. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not a nurse. I'm just a real world woman who got really sick. And when I wasn't getting answers and getting help, I stumbled on a system that helped me start to feel better. And that started me on this path of understanding insulin resistance. And along the way, I realized if I'm suffering from these things, if this has been my story, then I know there's other people out there who are going through similar things. So I want to share information so that everybody else or somebody else, anybody else can start to understand that their health doesn't have to remain like it is, and you don't have to stay in this place where you're frustrated with your health. So I want to talk today. Number one, you have my picture up here. But look, I had a walker, I had a cane. I went from being a world champion to I couldn't even walk. And that was embarrassing. But what was even worse was the extreme fatigue that I felt all the time, all the time. I used to say that it felt like somebody put a vacuum cleaner up to my belly button and just sucked all the energy out of me. And in its wake, it just left a whole bunch of pain. And I know that a number of other people out there feel the same. In fact, many people have been diagnosed with something called fibromyalgia from this fatigue and pain that they feel throughout our body. But look, there's some factors to our fatigue that we all know. You know, we're plugged into blue light too often. We have really stressful jobs and lifestyles. Our days are filled with more than they've ever been filled with, it feels like. We don't have a lot of time to unplug. So that stress can definitely contribute long term to cortisol levels and us being fatigued. But the one thing that people are not talking about, good morning, everybody. Daddy Wayne, Susie Q, good morning and welcome in. But the one thing that people are not talking about with fatigue, and all of these people are walking around with extreme levels of fatigue, is insulin resistance and how it's causing this horrible fatigue that you're falling into along with brain fog. So that's what I want to talk about today. We're going to go over a little bit of what's happening so you can understand, and then you can understand that getting your insulin resistance under control can change everything for you. Because look, not only did I feel like somebody just stuck a vacuum cleaner to me and sucked out all the energy, I also I was working in medical offices, and I would get up in the morning and be barely able to get out of bed because along with it, I have the sleep apnea and stuff. And then I run into work and I'm looking forward to lunch. That's the one thing on my mind all morning is lunch. And do you know why? Not because I wanted to eat, because I needed to sleep. And I would literally in the wintertime have a blanket and turn the car on and have the heater on. In the summertime, the car would be on with the air conditioning on. But I would kick the seat back, set an alarm, and pass out until my lunch hour was over. And then I would clean up and run back into the office like nothing ever happened and try to work through the rest of the day. Well, that kind of fatigue, you start to make mistakes, you start to have problems, people start to notice. Besides the fatigue that I felt in that way, my muscles were giving out. This extreme sciatica and joint stuff that I had going on, my muscles would give out. In the middle of clinic, I would be carrying trays of thousands of dollars worth of product, and my legs would give out just out of nowhere because I would deal with the fatigue and the pain, but my body would at some point say no. So let's talk about insulin resistance and fatigue and understand what's really happening. And this one is probably far more simple than any of the other topics that I cover. So just hang out and you guys let me know. Does anybody else feel like they're more tired now than they've ever been? And you just you can't explain it. Like you're trying to do all the right things, but you're still just constantly tired. Give me a one or tap the hearts to let me know. Thank you, Janice, for responding to that. So here's the thing. I'm gonna step it back a little bit. We're gonna talk about insulin resistance super briefly. Stephanie, thank you. Amanda, thank you. Because you know, you guys, that was me all the time. I woke up tired. I spent my day tired. I went to bed tired. We'll cover all of that. But so insulin resistance, I want you to understand insulin resistance really briefly first so we can understand what's happening in the body. Why we get insulin resistance and what it is. So, insulin is a hormone that transports energy in our body. When we eat our food, a lot of our food gets turned into glucose, which is that energy for our body. It's like the gasoline for our cars. But insulin has to carry that energy to all the cells. And every cell that's been looked at, every single cell in the human body that's been looked at, has insulin receptors on it, meaning every single cell needs energy inside the cell. Insulin carries the energy in. It kind of has this like the receptors kind of like a lock and key. Insulin knocks on the door and says, "Hey, I have a package for you." The cell says, "Yay," opens up, lets the energy in, and everything's fine. But what's happening for most of us right now is that we're getting this energy in, opens up the door, cell lets it in. Everything is fine. But then all of a sudden, insulin's back again, and insulin's back again, and insulin's back again because we're eating every 2 hours and we're eating foods that are high in carbohydrates. And now we're flooding our body with this energy source called glucose in the bloodstream. It's sugar, and that can be sticky, icky, and damaging inside the bloodstream. So the body wants us to get rid of it. So now we have insulin coming out in force all the time because we're eating all the time. And so insulin's doing its best job to get rid of that energy. But what happens when cells start shutting down? Maybe they're damaged inside from all the sugar that's floating around. And so they're like, nope, I'm going to preserve myself, not letting anything else in here in again until I can heal up. Some cells are just like, don't want anymore. Some cells are like, I'll take what I need and leave you alone the rest of the time. And some cells just take in way too much. But predominantly, we have this energy problem where many of our cells cannot get the energy they need because that lock and key is kind of broken in this onslaught of constant insulin trying to deliver energy. At that point, we start to store it as fat. Now we're gaining weight. Now our fat cells are filling up. And now when the fat cells get to a point, a critical point, I'm going to call it, where they're like, if I take on any more, I'm going to explode. They start refusing the insulin or they just let the sugar spill back out into the bloodstream. So the cell's not really growing. Insulin's trying to force energy in, but the cell's just like, okay, well, I'm just going to put some out the back door here because I really can't store anymore. Now your blood sugars are going up. Now you get a high A1C, a high blood sugar, and now you're diagnosed with diabetes. You don't have to be obese to be diabetic, and I'll talk about that later because today we're really talking about fatigue. But in this whole cycle, a couple of things are happening. Remember, cells are not getting the nutrition, the energy that they need. So when those cells are not getting the energy they need, you have a lack of in your body and you're feeling this body-wide fatigue because literally your cells don't have energy. They don't have an energy source. So that whole feeling of somebody stuck a vacuum cleaner up to my belly button and sucked everything out was in effect real because now all of these cells in my body just even if I was eating, they were not able to get the energy they needed. And that's what's happening for most of us. You guys, let's see, in 2000, let's talk about this real quick. 2018, there was a study done that said 88% of us had a metabolic disorder, and that leads to insulin or is rooted in insulin resistance. Just 4 years later, in 2022, they did another study. At that point, they said that over 93% of us had a metabolic disorder, and that's rising even more now. So we're still 2 years from that last study that went from 88% to 93%. Bottom line, about 93%, if not more of us, have some type of metabolic disorder, are experiencing this extreme fatigue, just can't seem to get through the day, feel like we need 10 naps in the day, or just like body is in pain and just really feels this lack of energy because our body is not getting energy into the cells with insulin resistance. It's getting it into the fat cells, but it's not getting it into the cells that really need the energy. So I had brain fog listed on the comments, and I don't know if I changed it over here. I did not. So I'm going to change the name of this on the Facebook one because I forgot that. We're going to do fatigue. Okay, Sorry about that. I just realized I didn't do something right this morning, which is pretty typical. I always forget something. That's what makes me human. Okay, now, so your cells are not getting the energy they need. And so now you're having this fatigue. But the other half of that is this: with insulin resistance, when insulin is high, so you spike your blood sugar levels and then that increases the insulin. Insulin's always got to go a little bit higher than the sugar that it's trying to deliver. And it's delivering all of this, but you're eating, so insulin is staying high. At this point, when we have this hyperinsulinemia, insulin is hyperactive and it's like, I got to get rid of this because this person's going to eat more and there's going to be more to do. And I can't be stuck with, a job to do. So you eat, you get the energy in, you have this little bitty surge of energy, and then insulin delivers all of that and most of it into your fat cells. And now you have a lack of energy because there's no middle line. Insulin has gotten, instead of delivering it nice and easy, insulin is in a panic mode and it's delivering it quickly and staying out quickly. So you have this disparity between the food that you've eaten and the energy you have. And so you think that you got to go eat more food, have a piece of fruit, have an orange juice, have a Snickers bar, something to get your blood sugar levels back up, something to give you energy again. And that is just worsening the cycle. So this one piece of this, what we need to understand is the protocol that I talk about, the tea in the morning and the fiber that we have before we eat. So it's affecting the fatigue directly in these ways. The balance is helping regulate those blood sugars. So now instead of insulin going really high and getting out of order, insulin stays at a more normal level and is allowed to start delivering that sugar to cells more consistently over time. So your energy isn't like wham, bam, it's just consistent energy. So the blood sugar regulation is super important in that. And that keeps you from having those spikes and crashes in energy. But then the tea that I drink, and I need to drink some of mine this morning that I have every morning, helps also because it's actually getting energy into your brain. It's enhancing. This was actually developed as a mental health tool and to enhance energy. And so this is addressing that on that side where it's actually getting energy up here so that you can not have so much fatigue. Now, I talk about it often, and some of you guys are new and welcome in. Donna, I see you. So, what's happening is in insulin resistance, one of the things that we're having is we're now not getting glucose to the brain, and the brain needs glucose for energy. The brain needs the same thing the rest of the body does: sugar or fat. That's what the brain runs on. That's what the body runs on, right? Same two sources. The brain is no different. It needs either glucose or cholesterol, but more likely a combination of the two to function properly. But in an insulin resistant state, you're not getting energy to the brain. Now you're starting to have brain fog and fatigue. And it goes along with the body. And now, because your brain is shutting down, it starts calling for more energy, cueing you to be hungry, but you're tired. So you're eating more and you're causing that blood sugar spike, and it's doing the whole same thing. The two products I talk about are doing exactly the same things here. We're helping reduce those blood sugar levels so that the cells in the brain start to become more receptive again to insulin, and we can actually get that glucose up in the brain and utilized in being able to address serotonin and dopamine even better. So fatigue and brain fog are very common side effects that show up right away with people with insulin resistance because you literally have a lack of energy going to your cells. So, if you want to have energy back, some vitality back, mental clarity back, and reduce some of that fibromyalgia pain, you might want to take a look at getting your insulin resistance under control. That's one of the first things that I noticed that changed for me was I was so tired. Like I said, I would kick my seat back, I would pass out. Sometimes, I mean, I had to have I would drool on myself. I was so tired at the end of the day. And this was when I was a world champion. Can you imagine what I would have been able to do if my body was actually functioning at full speed? I think about that a lot, but I have other things going on now. So Anyway, I would do the same thing at the end of the day. By the time I would finish my shift, I would be so tired that I would pull up to the gym where I was gonna train, and because I trained alone, it wasn't a big deal, but I would find a spot where there wasn't a bunch of foot traffic, and I would do the same thing, kick my seat back, only I didn't set an alarm. I'm like, "I'm so tired, I'll wake up when I wake up." Sometimes it was 15 minutes, sometimes it was more than an hour before my body was like, "Okay, I can get up and go do this workout." And at that point, I was already eating keto. I wasn't doing 6 meals a day. I was working out 6 hours a day, 3 days a week, or 6 no, 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. So, if that's true, if they're just like, "Get your diet under control, get, exercise more," then yeah, I had less weight on me, but I still had all of the other things going on. When I started the system, the tea and the pre-meal drink that are addressing blood sugars, addressing energy levels, addressing so many other things, the very first thing I noticed was an increase in energy and mental clarity. I used to do subconscious reprogramming coaching for people who had survived trauma, women who had survived sexual trauma, and my bestie Steph was working with military vets and overcoming the traumas that they experienced from service. And so we did a lot of work in that way, and we would, because we lived across the country from each other, we would have Zoom calls every couple of days to talk about what we were talking about and how we were serving and all of that. I happened to hop on a call with her. I started the system on a Sunday. We had a scheduled Zoom call on a Wednesday. We get on the call to go over our content for the week and whatnot, and she stopped the meeting and said, "Stop, wait a second. I wanna I wanna know. I wanna know what you did because you have more mental clarity, you have more energy, you look happier. What have you done? What's going on, Misha?" And I told her the only thing I changed was adding this system into my day. And I already had more energy and mental clarity. What is that? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 4 days in. And then on the 6th day in, I had a doctor's appointment to go over some labs, and we were working on my health because my blood pressure was out of control. I had fatigue and I had thyroid issues and I had all the stuff, right? So I get to the doctor's office, they do my vitals, and my blood pressure is down from 180 over 150 to 126 over 84, which was the closest it had been to normal in years, in decades. And my doctor was like, "Misha, what are you doing?" Now my blood pressure is normally 112 over 70 every day. And it was all as I started understanding insulin resistance and the extreme ways that it really affects your health that I started feeling better. And all it was these 2 tools. So I know there was a number of you who said you're experiencing fatigue. And with that, how many of you have heard, like, okay, so there's diabetes education that says you need to eat every couple hours, you need to keep your blood sugar levels stable, right? This man, Dr. Bickman, goes around and helps educate diabetic doctors on the fallacies in our current care. Eating every 2 hours is not helping diabetes, it's making it worse. Injecting a diabetic type 2 person with insulin is not helping them, it's making it worse. Those same patients, um, are starting to feel more and more tired, especially when you're injecting insulin into a body that's already resistant to your own insulin. Now we have a problem. Now those people are starting to feel more and more tired. They're having more and more brain fog. Their blood sugars look okay, but their body is becoming more insulin resistant because the doctors are giving them more of what they already have too much of. So if we understand that insulin comes out when we have sugar in the bloodstream, wouldn't it be more reasonable to talk to people about regulating that thing that triggers the need for insulin? Regulating that sugar that we're eating so that we can have more energy and just have more normal lives and not have to have all of these medications. I would think that would be a better solution for most of us. Good morning, Grammy. Nice to see you in here in Text Girl. So you guys, this is very, very simple. Insulin resistance causes fatigue simply because the primary reason because your cells are not getting the energy they need to function, and your entire body is feeling this exhaustion. If you have it, and I used to think I was very alone in this, but I'm realizing that I'm more like many of you than I ever knew, that fatigue I felt, it wasn't depression, although this kind of fatigue can help you lean into depression, and the energy not getting into your brain, right, can, and the dysregulation of serotonin and dopamine can cause depression. This kind of fatigue is not depression, and yet many people will treat you as if you're just depressed. If you would just change your mindset, you would have more energy, and they don't understand this whole thing that your body literally, even though you're eating, cannot access the energy that you're taking in. So you're hungry all the time, and you're tired all the time, and you're frustrated because nobody's helping you. Has anybody's doctor, anybody that said yes about the fatigue, has anybody's doctor given you anything, or better, maybe I'll ask it this way. Can you tell me what your doctor said to you, if you don't mind, if you've addressed the fatigue and stuff with your doctor? I would love to know what they said. And if you want to come on live with me, I'd be more than happy to hear your story. But if you just want to type it in the comments, that's great too. Let me know what you've been told about your fatigue and how to overcome it. And while some of you are deciding if you want to do that for me, have you been told things like, "Oh, you're just tired because you're overweight. Lose weight and you'll feel better." Um, what are some of the other things they told me about my fatigue? Really, they just didn't have an excuse for it. I'm trying to remember back then what they were telling me. Take vitamins and antidepressants, right? Those are Jeanette. Yeah, okay, and I actually, you guys, I was, no bones about it, I was on antidepressants for a while in my early married life. In my 30s, I started was suffering with this, and nobody was addressing it. But I remember, like, I would get so tired, I would just pass out on the couch. My husband would come in if it was a Saturday and I was asleep on the couch because I'm exhausted and 2 kids. He would start yelling at me and tell me how lazy I was, and, just all this gaslighting stuff that goes on. And I'm sorry for any of you who are going through that at home. I do want to encourage you to know that it doesn't have to be like that. But I also want you to know that it's not your fault, right? You're not a lazy person. You're not an undisciplined person. Your body really does hurt and feel that exhausted. I know, I get it, right? So I actually went to a doctor to try and figure all this out. And she's like, "Oh, you're just depressed. Here, let's give you a medication." Well, they don't have time or any of to give us all this education, but nobody ever said you have this condition that means your brain isn't getting energy, and if your brain could get energy, your mood would be better. Nobody told me with the brain fog and depression and whatnot that a simple tea that's real food, gluten-free, halal, no animal products, could completely change that by helping get energy to my brain, by helping boost the proper use of serotonin and dopamine in my brain, by giving me energy that doesn't feel me have me feeling crashed. Now I can both lose weight and start to have energy back without antidepressants. I don't think I've ever admitted to being on antidepressants before, so you guys got something new out of me today. But I was for a while. I was on antidepressants because back then I didn't know any of this stuff. I didn't know that really why I was feeling the way I was feeling was called insulin resistance. I didn't know that by slowing down how quickly the blood sugars hit my bloodstream, by slowing down how many carbs I'm eating, by slowing down the fats that get absorbed into my system, that I could actually just have a better mood by doing that. I mean, is that crazy? Like, instead of antidepressants, now there's times for every medication and there's instances for everyone, right? I want to preface with that. But for most of us, we don't need that high perp and 3 kitties and a boy. That's a cute name, 3 kitties and a boy. Um, Although I'm highly allergic to cats, the name is really cute. But you guys, if you knew all this time that your fatigue was just this blood sugar dysregulation and the insulin dysregulation, and that if you simply did look, the solution, the only way I found around it is what I talk about every day because it's the only thing that actually ended up working for all of the stuff I was suffering with. Um, a tea that I have every morning, and it's my favorite drink, actually. Now I have it twice a day, and a pre-meal drink that I have before I eat. Now, it's easy, and I do this every morning because I really like the fiber. I like what it does for my gut. I understand now that I've been doing all of this research and trying to disseminate information to you guys, I understand now that if I have this fiber in the morning, which is not what anybody else has to do, that when I do this with you guys in the morning, even though I'm not going to eat for a couple of hours, what's happening is it's building a good solid base of nutrition in my body. It's helping in a fasted state because it has soluble fibers in it. Those soluble fibers kind of ferment in the gut, and your good bacteria feed on that and create short chain fatty acids. They actually help my ketones go up. So this in a fasted state actually helps me further my fast while soothing my stomach. And it has a light citrus flavor. So it tastes like a little light orange creamsicle. It's actually, you guys, I've had supplements that, like when I was competing, that literally tasted like I was licking the bottom of a lawnmower. Um, these taste amazing, and it's actually worked for me. So now, that was the fiber drink that I have every morning. I did a blog post yesterday on fiber and its importance. My blog is at Brilliant Health blog. Just type that into Google. You'll be able to find all of the information that I talk about on these lives are starting to go up as blog posts. So the one on fiber yesterday will be up. A briefer one today because it's so direct for this topic, but on energy and how insulin resistance is causing these energy and brain fog issues. That will go up today, and you'll be able to come back and look at that. But this literally is all I had to do to change my brain fog, my energy levels, so much so that people started noticing it in me before I even told them I made a change. And more importantly, when I realized I could get up in the morning, and I still do today at 60 years old, I don't have to take naps. I've been up since 5:30. I have a lot of stuff to do. My grandson's coming over today. We're probably going to be up late tonight. I don't need to lay down and take a nap today. I won't. And that's not what my life was before. My life before was taking at least 2 naps a day, so sleeping so hard because I was so tired that I would actually drool on my face, but I don't experience that anymore because I got my insulin resistance under control, and I got my body more insulin sensitive so that it's using energy in the way it's supposed to. Because your body has 2 sources of energy, sugar or fat, and currently we're in sugar burning mode, which means too much insulin, which is causing this whole energy problem. When you do some fasting, which both of these help you get through a fast. Yes, I drank this and I'm in a fasted state for our purposes. This does not break the fast. It helps further my fast, but you know what else it's doing? It, this is helping because it's in my stomach now. It's starting to thicken up. You can see that it's already thickened up enough to coat the bottle. It's going to start to make my stomach feel full and a little bit distended. And so that's going to shut down cues for hunger for my body. My body's also now in a state where it can burn fat for fuel because I've fasted long enough to get the insulin levels down. And insulin blocks fat burning and encourages fat storage. So you have to get that down if you want to start addressing fat cells on your body. Now, because my body's in that state, the short chain fatty acids are feeding on this, or the microbiome is feeding on this, creating short chain fatty acids. And that's cueing my body to utilize my own fat for fuel. Because when you get to this point, when you can do this little bit of just a 16-hour fast, which is nothing, it's what our bodies are built for, and you start to understand the energy you have. Like, my energy levels don't drop until I eat. My energy levels stay high and I stay focused until I start eating, and then it stays good, but it's not as good as when I'm in a fasted state. But the system helps me with that fasted state as well, because the tea is giving me energy, shutting down my hunger, and then I just had this in the morning. Again, this is my personal journey. Everybody else doesn't have to do this. But when I do eat, I'll have another one of these. Now I'll have a compounded effect of the fiber, and not on this particular fiber, but on a single source fiber. That compounded effect could decrease, it could increase the sugar regulation of fiber 4 or 5 hours later. So that could reduce a blood sugar spike by about 60%, 4 to 5 hours later. That's on a single source fiber that's initially only reducing a blood sugar spike by 10%. This can reduce a blood sugar spike by up to 37% because it's not a single source fiber. It's 7 different fibers that are in there that are going to help that. And remember, every time we're doing that and we're keeping our body away from spiking more insulin, and we can get a hold of fat for fuel, we start, you guys, when you can become fat burners, the energy you feel in the day is completely different, and it's amazing. And I can't, you'll have to experience it yourself. The tea lady dye is in my profile, so let's take a look at that. If you just go to my profile link, I'm gonna get it up here on this other side. Just go to my profile link, and I'm getting this up. We'll take a look at my profile on TikTok. Now, for everybody over on Facebook, I'll put a link in there. And I want to, okay. So when you get to my profile here on TikTok, you're going to see these 2 red lights. Right under the red lights, you'll see that link that's going to take you to my landing page. And then you're going to come right to this page. The protocol I use, including the teas, is right here. You just click on that, and it's going to take you right to the company's website where you can order. My name will be there. That means if you have questions, you can get a hold of me, and here's where you order. So you get a choice between lemon or lemon ginger for the tea, or you can get a box of each because you're getting 2 boxes of the tea with the protocol. And then you get to choose between orange or berry for the pre-meal drink. The berry was trialed a few months ago and it's now out permanently. So it's a great alternative for people who want to switch up the flavor. The drink goes down so quickly, it doesn't really matter to me. I love the berry flavor. But you got to make that choice. It's about $5 a day, guys. If you put it on subscription, that's the best way to do it. Now, look, I was talking to a woman yesterday, and she was in the grocery store shopping because she had fatty liver disease. So we just had a conversation, and it was amazing to me, even though she was working with multiple doctors, none of them had addressed any of the stuff. She's still buying fruit. But thankfully, she's not doing fruit juice. If you have a liver issue, you guys, a fatty liver issue, one of the worst things you can do is have fruit. Fruit is the sugar in fruit is called fructose, and the only place that can metabolize it and store it is your liver. So every time you're eating fruit, that energy is getting stored as fat, and it's getting stored in your liver. So if you're having any kind of fat and liver issue, you're going to really have to regulate your fruit. And if you want to have some, berries are probably the best thing for you. But anyway, so it was amazing to me that none of her doctors had addressed any of this, and that a lot of the things they're telling her are actually absolutely opposite of what doctors like Dr. Fung, Dr. Pradeep, Dr. Bickman, who are all specialists in this field, would tell them to do. So the tea is in my profile. You guys, you get a 90-day money back guarantee with the tea. You get a low price guarantee when you order through my link. That means you're never going to pay more than I pay for it. And you get a quality guarantee. It's tested at 3 points in the manufacturing process. That's important. And if you're just ordering off of Amazon, eBay, Walmart, we have pirated stuff, expired stuff. You're always paying more. And those sellers over there are not authorized by the company. Use the link, get it directly from the company. You're covered by all the guarantees. If you buy it on any of those other platforms, there is no guarantee for you. Okay? So do that. And then here's the thing, you're going to get a text from me. Somebody purchased yesterday. The texts are going out this morning. They'll have a number to get a hold of me and ask questions and have me, you know, just as a human being work through, like, are they getting in enough protein? Are they, what does their day look like? I kind of like being that little detective trying to help figure out how to maximize this for people. So that's the thing. I used this cup when I painted my kid's house. Okay, so I am about ready to go get ready for my grandson for the day. You guys, the tea in the system is so super simple. Um, and that was one of the reasons I really liked it. Because one of the things is that I don't have to I do a lot of stuff for my health, but I didn't have to learn a lot. I didn't have to do a lot. All I had to do was drink my tea, have my balance, and try to eat better. But in the beginning, I still had hamburgers almost daily because of the job I was doing and the parameters around it. There was nothing else for me to eat or no way else for me to eat during the 8 or 10 hours that I was out. So at least one meal a day came from McDonald's or Jack in the Box because in the pandemic, they were the only things that were open. And when I was home, I tried to eat better. But I still lost 55 pounds and went from the woman who had a walker and a cane, and you can't see it really, but there's disability plates on that car, to being able to be back in the gym and start having a real life again. So I went from not being able to go up and down stairs, having to take an elevator if I went to the gym, to being able to go up and down stairs, got my pain under control, got my energy back, got my sleep health back, and all it was is this simple system. So, if you want to know more, use the link in my profile and let me know, and I would love to help you out. If you have questions about how insulin resistance links into anything, please let me know, and I'd love to talk about it and help you out along your journey. But other than that, I'm going to head out and go get ready for this amazing day. You guys have a good weekend. I don't work on the weekends, so we'll see you Monday. And have a great weekend. Thanks for joining me, you guys.